Shibo. Shibo. There we go. Quaker Oats. Hello. Quaker Oats with his face punched out. Sung from a fucking horror movie. Alright. Ow! Motherfuck, man. I just ground up my knee against the fucking pole of this pool table. Oh my god. We have not done more work on the... You know what, maybe I should like put this on the box that doesn't have all the naked men. And the naked babies as well, good lord. Okay. Yeah, I just flipped it over. That's always a solution. I can't seem to find the extra piece anymore. I think it's just camouflaged against this puzzle. Yeah, I'll deal with that later. How about that? Okay. Today I do not want to do puzzle. I instead need to get my ass started on some of these books I have to read. First one, well, not really first or second. I just gotta get them done and dusted. First one, I say, not really first one, then I go first one. Goodness gracious. I'm more excited for this book, right? How we got to now. 6 Innovations That Made the Modern World. It's by Steven Johnson. I also have to read The Martian by Amy Weir. It's the classroom edition, the sanitized version, so it's obviously intended for a much younger age. I'm reading this for a summer program. Like, this is like the learning material for like high schoolers and middle schoolers and shit. So these aren't really challenging, so to speak, unless challenging my patience. Haha, got him. Haha, let's go. I know I said I'd like the How We Got to Now book more, but I think in order to build my motivation, I should start with The Martian, just so I have something to look forward to. I think it's the only way I'll be able to stand the book, because I flipped through it once. I didn't really read much. I just looked at a few passages. It's very informal. You know, I live in the like fucking 1800s and 1900s. I imagine I'm like I'm like grabbing like a leather bound book with like 500 editions and 500 volumes, and like cracking it open, like not really cracking, but like flipping it open, and you know the spine cracks, and you know you gotta like peer closely at the text because it's made with huge serifs on all its letters, you know, that sort of thing. The sort of thing you'd find in like 1800s, like published European explorers on the scramble to Africa. They're like exploration diaries or something. That's the kind of text I like to read. So this whole modern stuff, I'm not sure I'll be able to do it justice. I really haven't not been doing it justice for the 4 minutes I've been yapping about this. But you know, things must be done. I gotta read this, and so why not read it with you guys, right? I was told I had to read this. I was told last week I had to read this, and I kept on holding it off because I wanted to read it for you guys. I don't know, maybe all the blogs I've done have Pavlov conditioned me to just find reading repulsive unless it's for you guys. That's very funny. Alright, let's stop dilly-dallying and let's get on with it. The Martian. Classroom edition. Ooh. I gotta show you guys this. Should I? I wanna show you guys this. There's a little map of Mars here. No, map of Moon, right? Mappa Mundi? Mappa Mundi. LOL. That's funny as hell. I'm such a comedian. There's stuff named after margaritas here. And stuff named after League of Legends. And stuff named after Arabs. Oh, stuff named after Kyrian Becquerel. That's very nice. Why are these named after God of War, Ares? What are these Ares about? Who knows? Maybe a mission. I gotta do cockle goods on space missions sometime. I'm sorry. I put it down and I just noticed the Wahoo over here. That's funny. If that's actually a name for something on the moon, I won't be surprised. Scientists are very funny, but still. I'll be very intrigued. I'll raise an eyebrow. The Martian, Chapter 1. Log entry Sol 6. I'm pretty much screwed. That's my considered opinion. Screwed. 6 days into what should be the greatest month of my life, and it's turned into a nightmare. Same thing. I don't even know who will read this. I guess someone will find it eventually, maybe 100 years from now. For the record, I didn't die on Sol 6. Certainly the rest of the crew thought I did, and I can't blame them. Maybe there will be a day of national mourning for me, and my Wikipedia page will say, Mark Watney is the only human being to have died on Mars. He's on Mars? Okay. Forgive me. That's why they were calling stuff Ares. That's okay. Keep on going. And I'll be right, probably, because I'll surely die here. Not just not on Sol 6, when everyone thinks I did. Let's see, where do I begin? The Ares program. Mankind reaching out to Mars to send people to another planet for the very first time and expand the horizons of humanity, blah blah blah. The Ares 1 crew did their thing and came back heroes. They got the parades and fame and love of the world. Ares 2 did the same thing in a different location on Mars. They got a firm handshake and a hot cup of coffee when they came home. Ares 3. Well, that was my mission. Okay, not mine per se. Commander Lewis was in charge. I was just one of her crew. Actually, I was the very lowest ranked member of the crew. I would only be in command of the mission if I were the only remaining person. What do you know? I'm in command. I wonder if this log will be recovered before the rest of the crew die of old age. I presume they got back to Earth all right. Guys, if you're reading this, it wasn't your fault. You did what you had to do. In your position, I would have done the same thing. I don't blame you, and I'm glad you survived. And there's a break. Interesting. I guess I should explain how Mars missions work for any layman who might be reading this. How considerate. We got to Earth orbit the normal way, through an ordinary ship to Hermes. All the Ares missions use Hermes to get to and from Mars. It's really big and costs a lot, so NASA built only one. Ordinary ship to Hermes. Once we got to Hermes, 4 additional unmanned missions brought us fuel and supplies while we prepared for our trip. Once everything was a go, we set out for Mars, but not very fast. Gone are the days of heavy chemical fuel burns and trans-Mars injection orbits. Hermes is powered by ion engines. They throw argon out of the back of the ship really fast to get a tiny amount of acceleration. The thing is, it doesn't take much reactant mass, so a little argon and a nuclear reactor to power things let us accelerate constantly the whole way there. You'd be amazed at how fast you can get going with a tiny acceleration over a long time. I could regale you with tales of how we had great fun on the trip, but I won't. I don't feel like reliving it right now. Suffice it to say, we got to Mars 124 days later without strangling each other. Interesting. From there, we took the MDV, or Mars Descent Vehicle, to the surface. The MDV is basically a big can with some light thrusters and parachutes attached. Its sole purpose is to get 6 humans from Mars orbit to the surface without killing any of them. And now we come to the real trick of Mars exploration, having all of our crap there in advance. A total of 14 unmanned missions deposited everything we would need for surface operations. They tried their best to land all the supply vessels in the same general area, and did a reasonably good job. Supplies aren't nearly so fragile as humans, and can hit the ground really hard, but they tend to bounce around a lot. My ass does the same thing. Naturally, they didn't send us to Mars until they'd confirmed that all the supplies had made it to the surface, and their containers weren't breached. Start to finish, including supply missions, a Mars mission. Start to finish, including supply missions, a Mars mission takes about 3 years. In fact, there were Ares 3 supplies en route to Mars, while the Ares 2 crew were on their way home. The most important piece of the advanced supplies, of course, was the MAV, the Mars Ascent Vehicle. That was how we would get back to Hermes after surface operations were complete. The MAV was soft-landed, as opposed to the balloon bounce vest the other supplies had. Of course, it was in constant communication with Houston, and if there had been any problems with it, we would have passed by Mars and had gone home without ever landing. The MAV is pretty cool. Turns out, through a neat set of chemical reactions within the Martian atmosphere, for every kilogram of hydrogen you bring to Mars, you can make 13 kilograms of fuel. It's a slow process, though. It takes 24 months to fill the tank. That's why they sent it long before we got here. You can imagine how disappointed I was when I discovered the MAV was gone. Interesting. Okay. I'd like a pencil. I need a pencil. Shame. A fucking... What is it? The room of requirement. This basement is like a fucking room of requirement, and yet we have no pencils anywhere. Interesting. I'll fucking use my nails. I'll indent this page. That's fucking invisible. Maybe I should spit on it. I'm kidding. So, it was okay. So, it reminds me of fucking like Die Hard, when you got this comedy and this action and all this and that, but under the surface there's this like fucking critique of like I think it was like the police force, right? And like newscasters and stuff about America and like terrorism and whatnot. And this thing is kind of the same. It's like you got all this like action about space and like some like relatable no, not really relatable, but like still like personal like comedy and stuff, and below that's like a slight critique of NASA so far. Like you got all these precautions, and yet holy shit, the map is not there. So they sent 6 astronauts. He's saying how disappointed I was when I discovered the MAV was gone. Did he discover that the MAV was gone while looking at Mars? Or did he land and then realize the MAV was gone? And in that case, did the other 5 also drop down there with him? Because if so, that's interesting. Okay. He would have said, you can imagine how disappointed we were when we discovered the MAV was gone. So what did the other 5 do? I am confused. Whatever. It was a ridiculous series of events that... It was a ridiculous sequence of events that led to me almost dying, and an even more ridiculous sequence that led to me surviving. The mission is designed to handle sandstorm gusts up to 150 kilometers per hour. So Houston got understandably nervous when we got whacked with 175 km/h winds. We all got in our flight spacesuits and huddled in the middle of the hab just in case it lost pressure. But the hab wasn't the problem. The MAV is a spaceship. It has a lot of delicate parts. It can put up with storms to a certain extent, but it just can't get sandblasted forever. After an hour and a half of a sustained wind, NASA gave the order to abort. Nobody wanted to stop a month-long mission after only 6 days, but if the MAV took any more punishment, we'd all have gotten stranded down there. We had to go out into the storm to get from the hab to the MAV. That was going to be risky, but what choice did we have? Everyone made it but me. Our main communications dish, which relayed signals from the hab to Hermes, acted like a parachute, getting torn from its foundations and carried away with the torrent. Along the way, it crashed through the reception antenna array. Then one of those long, thin antennae slammed into me end first. It tore through... Jesus fuck. It tore through my suit like a bullet through butter, and I felt the worst pain of my life as it ripped open my side. I vaguely remember having the wind knocked out of me, pulled out of me really, and my ears popping painfully as the pressure of my suit escaped. The last thing I remember was seeing Johansson, hopelessly reaching out towards me. Interesting. Interesting. Hold on. What? They need fucking, like... Maybe it's the fact that this is the fucking classroom edition, but I'm more confused. Which is not something you want a classroom to do. That's funny. So the map is gone, right? But then, obviously they're going into the map. Wait, what? And this is honestly, like, credit to the author and everything, but this is a hell of a lot of words. Unless he's using text to speech, this is fucking ridiculous. Okay. Who gives a damn? I'll skip the continuity errors, or not continuity errors. I don't think there are errors on his part. I think it's errors of understanding on my part. I think when he says how disappointed he was when he discovered the map was gone, he's saying right now, when he's got the wound and he's lying there, the map is gone, you know? But he wouldn't be disappointed at that. He would just be like, oh well. You know, like, the hell? I don't understand. What the hell? I awoke to the oxygen alarm in my suit, a steady, obnoxious beeping that eventually roused me from a deep and profound desire to just die. The storm had abated. I was face down, almost totally buried in sand. As I groggily came to, I wondered why I wasn't more dead. The antenna had enough force to punch through the suit and my side, but it had been stopped by my pelvis. So there was only one hole in the suit, and a hole in me, of course. Gee whiz. I had been knocked back quite a ways and rolled down a steep hill. Somehow I landed face down, which forced the antenna to a strongly oblique angle that put a lot of torque on the hole in the suit. it made a weak seal. And I thought seals were only in the Arctic. Ha 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 ha. Then the copious blood from my wound trickled down towards the hole. As the blood reached the side of the breach, the water in it quickly evaporated from the airflow and low pressure, leaving a gunky residue behind. More blood came in behind it and was also reduced to gunk. Eventually, it sealed the gaps around the hole and reduced the leak to something the suit could counteract. The suit did its job admirably. Sensing the drop in pressure, it constantly flooded itself with air from my nitrogen tank to equalize. Once the leak became manageable, it only had to trickle new air in slowly to relieve the air lost. Interesting. After a while, the CO2 absorbers in the suit were expended. That's really the limiting factor to life support. Not the amount of oxygen you have with you, but the amount of CO2 you can remove. In the hab, I have the oxygenator, a large piece of equipment that breaks apart CO2 to give the oxygen back. But the spacesuits have to be portable, so they use a simple chemical absorption process with expendable filters. I'd been asleep long enough that my filters were useless. Oh, so they're all expended. He spent the filters in his sleep. Bro, how asleep do you have to be for that to happen? Hold on, what? Unless I'm reading this wrong, this is a fucking month-long mission. And he's already... Oh, it's because those are in the hab, and these expendable ones are in the spacesuits. I see. Never mind, I'm just being overly critical. Let's continue. The suit saw this problem and moved into an emergency mode the engineers called bloodletting. That's an awful way to call an emergency mode. That's like fucking antiquated 1800s technology. Goodness. Technology, he says. More like medical malpractice. Having no way to separate out the CO2, the suit deliberately vented air to the Martian atmosphere, then backfilled with nitrogen. Between the breach and the bloodletting, it quickly ran out of nitrogen. All it had left was my oxygen tank. So it did the only thing it could to keep me alive. It started backfilling with pure oxygen. I now risk dying from oxygen toxicity, as the excessively high amounts of oxygen threatened to burn up my nervous system, lungs, and eyes. An ironic death for someone with a leaky spacesuit. Too much oxygen. We're in the 5th page, and there's already so much death and so much blood, and holy shit. And this is for middle schoolers. Every step of the way would have had beeping alarms, alerts, and warnings, but it was the high oxygen warning that woke me. The sheer volume of training for a space mission is astounding. I'd spent a week back on Earth practicing emergency spacesuit drills. I knew what to do. Carefully reaching to the side of my helmet, I got the breach kit. It's nothing more than a funnel with a valve at the small end and an unbelievably sticky resin on the wide end. The idea is you have the valve open and stick the wide end over a hole. The air can escape through the valve so it doesn't interfere with the resin, making a good seal. Then you close the valve and you've sealed the breach. The tricky part was getting the antenna out of the way. I pulled it out as fast as I could, wincing as the sudden pressure drop dizzied me and made the wound in my side scream in agony. I got the breach kit over the hole and sealed it. It held. The suit backfilled the missing air with yet more oxygen. Checking my arm readouts, I saw the suit was now at 85% oxygen. For reference, Earth's atmosphere is about 21%. I'd be okay so long as I didn't spend too much time like that. I stumbled up the hill back towards the Hab. As I crested the rise, I saw something that made me very happy and something that made me very sad. The Hab was intact, and the Mav was gone. Okay, so now the Mav is gone. But he shouldn't have been disappointed. He should have known that, some bad things happened, and, or maybe he was just dazed and he was still in, like, wake-up mode or something. Who knows? What the fuck is the Hab, though? They never defined that, did they? Who gives a damn? Right at that moment, I knew I was screwed. But I didn't want to just die out on the surface. I limped back to the Hab and fumbled my way into an airlock. As soon as I equalized, I threw off my helmet. Once inside the Hab, I doffed the suit and got my first good look at the injury. It would need stitches. Fortunately, all of us had been trained in basic medical procedures, and the Hab had excellent medical supplies. A quick shot of local anesthetic, irrigate the wound, 9 stitches, and I was done. I'd be taking antibiotics for a couple of weeks, but other than that, I'd be fine. I knew it was hopeless, but I tried firing up the communications array. No signal, of course. The primary satellite dish had broken off, remember? And it took the reception antennae with it. The Hab had secondary and tertiary communication systems, but they were both just for talking to the Mav, which would use its much more powerful systems to relay to Hermes. Thing is, that only works if the Mav is still around. I had no way to talk to Hermes. In time, I could locate the dish out on the surface, but it would take weeks for me to rig up any repairs, and that would be too late. In an abort, Hermes would leave orbit within 24 hours. The orbital dynamics made the trip safer and shorter the earlier you left, so why wait? Checking my suit, I saw the antennae had plowed through my biomonitor computer. When on an EVA... What the fuck are these acronyms, man? What is an EVA? What the hell? When on an EVA, all the crew's suits are networked, so we can see each other's status. The rest of the crew would have seen the pressure in my suit drop to nearly zero, followed immediately by my biosigns going flat. Add to that watching me tumble down a hill with a spear through me in the middle of a sandstorm. Yeah. They thought I was dead. How could they not? They may have even had a brief discussion about recovering my body, but regulations are clear. In the event a crewmate dies on Mars... Haha, crewmate. It says crewman, sorry. In the event a crewman dies on Mars, he stays on Mars. Leaving his body behind reduces weight for the Mav on the trip back. That means more disposable fuel and a larger margin of error for the return thrust. No point in giving that up for sentimentality. So that's the situation. I'm stranded on Mars. I have no way to communicate with Hermes or Earth. Everyone thinks I'm dead. I'm in a Hab designed to last 31 days. If the oxygenator breaks down, I'll suffocate. If the water reclaimer breaks down, I'll die of thirst. If the Hab breaches, I'll just kind of explode. If none of those things happen, I will eventually run out of food and starve to death. So yeah, I'm screwed. Okay, I've had a... Oh, this is chapter 2, sorry. This guy's fucking recording whole interviews. And he's saying, she said, blah blah blah, Dr. Blank said, blah blah blah. Bro, this is a fucking log entry. I'm just, my pessimistic self just isn't accepting the fact that good old Mark here is writing down a whole novel on log entries. Like, but of course, if they were more realistic, you just wouldn't be able to understand what's going on. Right? Okay, let's keep going. Chapter 2. Log entry Soul 7. So that's the next day. Okay, I've had a good night's sleep and things don't seem as hopeless as they did yesterday. Today I took stock of supplies and did a quick EVA to check up on the external equipment. Here's my situation. The surface mission was supposed to be 31 days. For redundancy, the supply probes had enough food to last the whole crew 56 days. That way, if one or two probes had problems, we'd still have enough food to complete the mission. We were in 6 days when all hell broke loose, so that leaves enough food to feed 6 people for 50 days. I'm just one guy, so it'll last me 300 days, and that's if I don't ration it, so I've got a fair bit of time. I'm pretty flush on EVA suits too. Each crew member had 2 spacesuits, a flight spacesuit to wear during descent and ascent, and the much bulkier and more robust EVA suit to wear when doing surface operations. My flight spacesuit has a hole in it, and of course the crew was wearing the other 5 when they returned to Hermes, but all 6 EVA suits are still here and in perfect condition. The acronym EVA, not acronym, abbreviation, I'm sorry. The abbreviation EVA has appeared 4 times in just like half a page. Have they defined EVA? I'm getting a bit fucked here. I just oh my god. Swear to God. Oh, what else? Let's keep going. The Habs stood up to the storm without any problems. Outside, things aren't so rosy. I can't find the satellite dish. It probably got blown kilometers away. The Mav is gone, of course. That's... The Mav is gone. He said that fucking 3 times. I'm starting to think the Mav is gone, guys. The Mav is gone, of course. My crewmates took it up to Hermes. Though the bottom half, the landing stage, is still here. No reason to take that back up when weight is the enemy. It includes the landing gear, the fuel plant, and anything else NASA figured it wouldn't need for the trip back up to orbit. The MDV is on its side, and there's a breach in the hull. Looks like the storm ripped the cowling off the reserve chute, which we didn't have to use on landing. Once the chute was exposed, it dragged the MDV all over the place, smashing it against every rock in the area. Not that the MDV would be much use to me. Its thrusters can't even lift its own weight. But it might have been valuable for parts. Might still be. Both rovers are half buried in sand, but they're in good shape otherwise. Their pressure seals are intact. Makes sense. Operating procedure when a storm hits is to stop motion and wait for the storm to pass. They're made to stand up to punishment. I'll be able to dig them out with a day or 2 of work. They stand up to punishment. That's called activism. I've lost communication with the weather stations, placed a kilometer away from the hab in 4 directions. They might be in perfect working order for all I know. The hab's communications are so weak right now, it probably can't even reach a kilometer. The solar cell array was covered in sand, rendering it useless. Hint: solar cells need sunlight to make electricity. Hint! What the fuck? This isn't a quiz question, dude. What? But once I swept the cells off, they returned to full efficiency. Whatever I end up doing, I'll have plenty of power for it. 200 square meters of solar cells with hydrogen fuel cells to store plenty of reserve. All I need to do is sweep them off every few days. Things indoors are great, thanks to the HAB's sturdy design. I ran a full diagnostic on the oxygenator, twice. It's perfect. If anything goes wrong with it, there's a short-term spare I can use. But it's solely for emergency use while repairing the main one. The spare doesn't actually pull CO2 apart and recapture the oxygen. It just absorbs the CO2 the same way the spacesuits do. It's intended to last 5 days before it saturates the filters, which means 30 days for me. Just one person breathing instead of 6. So there's some insurance there. The water reclaimer is working fine too. The bad news is there's no backup. If it stops working, I'll be drinking reserve water while I rig up a primitive distillery to boil pee. Also, I'll lose half a liter of water per day to breathing until the humidity in the HAB reaches its maximum and water starts condensing on every surface. Then I'll be licking the walls. Yay! Anyway, for now, no problems with the water reclaimer. I'll be licking the walls. Some people might find that hot. Who knows? So yeah, food, water, shelter, all taken care of. I'm going to start rationing food right now. Meals are pretty minimal already, but I think I can eat a 3/4 portion per meal. I think I can eat a 3/4 portion per meal and still be in all right. That should turn my 300 days of food into 400. Foraging around the medical area, I found the main bottle of vitamins. There's still enough multivitamins there to last years. Why are they bringing years worth of multivitamins? Brother, what? So I won't have any nutritional problems, though I'll still starve to death when I'm out of food, no matter how many vitamins I take. The medical area has morphine for emergencies, and there's enough there for a lethal dose. I'm not gonna slowly starve to death, I'll tell you that. If I get to that point, I'll take an easier way out. That's wonderful. I think middle schoolers will really empathize with that. Everyone on the mission had 2 specialties. I'm a botanist and medical engineer. Basically, the mission's fix-it man who played with plants. The mechanical engineering might save my life if something breaks. I've been thinking about how to survive this. It's not completely hopeless. There will be humans back on Mars in about 4 years when Ares 4 arrives, assuming they didn't cancel the program in the wake of my death. Ares 4 will be landing at the Schiaparelli Center, which is about 3,200 kilometers away from my location here in Acidalia Planitia. No way for me to get there on my own, but I could communicate. I might be able to get a rescue. Not sure how they'll manage that with the resources on hand, but NASA has a lot of smart people. Do they, though? So that's my mission now. Find a way to communicate with Earth. If I can't manage that, find a way to communicate with Hermes when it returns in 4 years with the Ares 4 crew. Of course, I don't have any plan for surviving 4 years on 1 year of food, but one thing at a time here. For now, I'm well fed and have a purpose. Fix the damn radio. I'll try and get to chapter 5. Well, let's see how many chapters there are. So 492? Good lord. Oh my god. Trying to find, okay. 26. Interesting. That's about 4 chapters. Because I want to. Do I want to? My plan was to alternate with the How We Got to Now. That book. So I could read some parts of The Martian, some parts of How We Got to Now. I'm just realizing that might take a toll on my mental health. Because who wants to be fucking multitasking with 2 different books? Not me. So, oh man. I'll just read 5 chapters today. I might have to resume later today. Alright, let's continue. Log entry Soul 10. This is still chapter 2. Well, I've done 3 EVAs and I haven't found any hint of the communications dish. I dug out one of the rovers and had a good drive around, but after days of wandering, I think it's time to give up. The storm probably blew the dish far away and then erased any drag marks or scuffs that might have led to a trail. Probably buried it too. I spent most of today out at what's left of the communications array. It's really a sorry sight. I may as well yell towards Earth for all the good that stupid thing will do me. For all the good that stupid thing will do me. I could throw together a rudimentary dish out of metal I find around the base, but this isn't some walkie-talkie I'm working with here. Communications from Mars to Earth is a pretty big deal and requires extremely specialized equipment. I won't be able to whip something up with tinfoil and gum. I need to ration my EVAs as well as food. The CO2 filters are not cleanable. Once they're saturated, they're done. The mission accounted for a 4-hour EVA per crew member per day. Fortunately, CO2 filters are light and small, so NASA had the luxury of sending more than we needed. As told, I have about 1,500 hours worth of CO2 filters. After that, any EVAs I do will have to be managed with bloodletting the air. I'm sorry. 1,500 hours may sound like a lot, but I'm faced with spending at least 4 years here if I'm going to have any hope of rescue, with a minimum of several hours per week dedicated to sweeping off the solar array. Anyway, no needless EVAs. In other news, I'm starting to come up with an idea for food. My botany background might come in useful after all. Of course it's going to come in useful. This is a fucking fiction book. Why bring a botanist to Mars? After all, it's famous for not having anything growing there. Well, the idea was to figure out how well things grow in Martian gravity and see what, if anything, we can do with Martian soil. The short answer is quite a lot. Almost. Martian soil has the basic building blocks needed for plant growth, but there's a lot of stuff going on in Earth soil that Mars soil doesn't have, even when it's placed in an Earth atmosphere and given plenty of water. Bacterial activity, certain nutrients provided by animal life, etc. None of that is happening on Mars. One of my tasks for the mission was to see how plants grow here, in various combinations of Earth and Mars soil and atmosphere. in various combinations of Earth and Mars soil and atmosphere. That's why I have a small amount of earth soil and a bunch of plant seeds with me. I can't get too excited, however. It's about the amount of soil you'd put in a window box, and the only seeds I have are a few species of grass and ferns. They're the most rugged and easily grown plants on Earth, so NASA picked them as the test subjects. So I have two problems: not enough dirt and nothing edible to plant in it. But I'm a botanist. I should be able to find a way to make this happen. If I don't, I'll be a really hungry botanist in about a year. Log entry soil 11. We're still in chapter 2. I wonder how the Cubs are doing. Humor. Laugh. You should laugh, everyone. Log entry soil 14. I got my undergrad degree at the University of Chicago. Half the people who studied botany were hippies who thought they could return to some natural world system, somehow feeding 7 billion people through pure gathering. They spent most of their time working out better ways to grow pot. I didn't like them. I've always been in it for the science, not for any New World Order crap. When they made compost heaps and tried to conserve every ounce of living matter, I laughed at them. Look at the silly hippies. Look at their pathetic attempts to simulate a complex global ecosystem in their backyard. Of course, now I'm doing exactly that. I'm saving every scrap of biomatter I can find. Every time I finish a meal, the leftovers go to the compost bucket. As for other biological material, the HAB has sophisticated toilets. Poop is usually vacuum dried, then accumulated in sealed bags to be discarded on the surface. Not anymore. In fact, I even did an EVA to recover the previous bags of poop from before the crew left. But being completely desiccated, this particular poop didn't have any bacteria in it anymore, but it still had complex proteins that would serve as useful manure. Adding it to any water and active bacteria would probably get it inundated, replacing any population killed by the toilet of doom. I found a big container and put a bit of water in it, then added the dried poop. Since then, I've added my own poop to it as well. The worse it smells, the better things are going. That's the bacteria at work. You know the sequel to Two Girls, One Cup? Yeah, it's 5 astronauts, 1 bucket. That's the sequel. 5 astronauts, 1 bucket. Get ready for that roller coaster. Once I get some Martian soil in here, I can mix in the manure and spread it out. Then I can sprinkle the earth soil on top. You might not think that would be an important step, but it is. There are dozens of species of bacteria living in earth soil, and they're critical to plant growth. They'll spread out and breed like, well, a bacterial infection. People have been using human waste as fertilizer for centuries. It's even got a pleasant name, night soil. Normally, it's not an ideal way to grow crops because it spreads disease. Human waste has pathogens in it that, you guessed it, infect humans. But it's not a problem for me. The only pathogens in this waste are the ones I already have. Good for you. Within a week, the Martian soil will be ready for plants to germinate in. But I won't plant yet. I'll bring in more lifeless soil from outside and spread some of the live soil over it. It'll infect the new soil, and I'll have double what I started with. After another week, I'll double it again, and so on. Of course, all the while, I'll be adding all new manure to the effort. My ass is doing as much to keep me alive as my brain. It says but I'm gonna replace it with ass. Because this is the sanitized version, and they probably used ass in the original version. This isn't a new concept I just came up with. People have speculated on how to make crop soil out of Martian dirt for decades. I'll just be putting it to the test for the first time. I searched through the food supplies and found all sorts of things that I can plant. Peas, for instance. Plenty of beans, too. I also found several potatoes. If any of them can still germinate after their ordeal, that would be great. With a nearly infinite supply of vitamins, all I need are calories of any kind to survive. The total floor space of the hab is about 92 square meters. I plan to dedicate all of it to this endeavor. I don't mind walking on dirt. It'll be a lot of work, but I'm gonna need to cover the entire floor to the depth of 10 centimeters. That means I'll have to transport 9.2 cubic meters of Martian soil into the hab. I can maybe get 1/10 of a cubic meter into the airlock at a time, and it'll be back-breaking work to collect it. But in the end, if everything goes to plan, I'll have 92 square meters of croppable soil. More like crappable soil, haha. Hell yeah, I'm a botanist. Fear my botany powers. Log entry Sol 15. This is back-breaking work. I spent 12 hours today on EVAs to bring dirt into the hab. I only managed to cover a small corner of the base, maybe 5 square meters. At this rate, it will take me weeks to get all the soil in. But hey, time is one thing I've got. The first few EVAs were pretty inefficient. Me filling small containers and bringing them in through the airlock. Then I got wise and just put one big container in the airlock itself and filled that with small containers till it was full. That sped things up a lot because the airlock takes about 10 minutes to get through. I ache all over, and the shovels I have are made for taking samples, not heavy digging. My back is killing me. I foraged in the medical supplies and found some Vicodin. I took it about 10 minutes ago. Should be kicking in soon. Anyway, it's nice to see progress. Time to start getting the bacteria to work on these minerals. After lunch. No 3/4 ration today. I've earned a full meal. Good job, Mr. Mark Watney. Log entry Sol 16. Maybe they got Watney's name from Watley. Wait. Watley. Is that... My mind was going to like the Portal guy, but I never played Portal. I don't remember his exact name. Who knows? One complication I haven't thought of is water. Turns out being on the surface of Mars for a few million years eliminates all the water in the soil. My master's degree in botany makes me pretty sure plants need wet dirt to grow in, not to mention the bacteria that has to live in the dirt first. Let me guess, he's gonna pee in it. He's gonna fucking mix number 1 with number 2, and it's gonna be whole loads of discussion. We're putting this to middle schoolers, man. What if we come to university, or what if we come to the classroom, one afternoon, and you got like a full layer of shit in the classroom floor, and all the students are peeing into it. Like, yeah, like the books inspired them. That's great, but what the fuck, man? Holy shit. Fortunately, I have water. Oh, good. Okay, so he didn't pee in it. Good. That's good. That's fucking well done. But not as much as I want. To be viable, soil needs 40 liters of water per cubic meter. My overall plan calls for 9.2 cubic meters of soil, so I'll eventually need 368 cubic liters of water, not cubic liters, liters of water to feed it. The HAB has an excellent water reclaimer, best technology available on Earth. So NASA figured, why send a lot of water up there? Just send enough for an emergency. Humans need 3 liters of water per day to be comfortable. They gave us 50 liters each, making 300 liters total in the HAB. I'm willing to dedicate all but an emergency 50 liters to the cause. That means I can feed 62.5 square meters at a depth of 10 centimeters, about 2/3 of the HAB's floor. It'll have to do. That's the long-term plan. For today, my goal was 5 square meters. I wadded up blankets and uniforms from my departed crewmates to serve as one edge of a planter box, with the curved walls of the HAB being the rest of the perimeter. It was as close to 5 square meters as I could manage. I filled it with sand to a depth of 10 centimeters. Then I sacrificed 20 liters of precious water to the dirt gods. Then things got disgusting. Good job. I dumped my big container of poo onto the soil and nearly puked from the smell. I mixed the soil and poop together with a shovel and spread it out evenly again. Then I sprinkled the earth soil on top. Get to work, bacteria. I'm counting on you. That smell is going to stick around for a while too. It's not like I can open a window. Still, you get used to it. In other news, today is Thanksgiving. My family will be gathering in Chicago for the usual feast at my parents' house. My guess is it won't be much fun, what with me having died 10 days ago. Heck, they probably just got done with my funeral. I wonder if they'll ever find out what really happened. I've been so busy staying alive, I never thought of what this must be like for my parents. Right now, they're suffering the worst pain anyone can endure. I'd give anything just to let them know I'm still alive. Would you? I'll just have to survive to make up for it. Log entry Soul 22. Wow, things really came along. I got all the sand in and ready to go. 2/3 of the base is now dirt. And today I executed my first dirt doubling. It's been a week, and the former Martian soil is rich and lovely. 2 more doublings and I'll have covered the whole field. All that work was great for my morale. It gave me something to do. But after things settled down a bit, and I had dinner while listening to Johansson's Beatles music collection, I got depressed again. Yeah, doing the math, this won't keep me from starving. My best bet for making calories is potatoes. They grow prolifically and have a reasonable caloric content, 770 calories per kilogram. I'm pretty sure all the ones I have will germinate. Problem is, I can't grow enough of them. In 62 square meters, I could grow maybe 150 kilograms of food in 400 days, the time I have before running out of food. That's a grand total of 115,500 calories, a sustainable average of 288 calories per day. I need 1,500 calories per day. Not even close. So I can't just live off the land forever, but I can extend my life. The potatoes will last me 76 days. Potatoes grow continually, so in those 76 days I can grow another 2,200 calories of potatoes, which will tide me over for another 15 days. After that, it's kind of pointless to continue the trend. All told, it buys me about 90 days. So now I'll start starving to death on Sol 490 instead of 400. It's progress, but any hope of survival rests on me surviving until Sol 1412, when Ares 4 will land. There's about 1,000 days of food I don't have, and I don't have a plan for how to get it. Why isn't it pointless to continue the trend? I'm a bit lost on that. Oh, I see. Chapter 3. Oh my god. Fucking hell. I've already got some ideas. You know what? I got some ideas for curriculum shit. I should probably write it down before I forget. I'll make sure to continue tonight. Yeah. See you guys later. I'll be sure to finish chapter 5 by tonight. That's my goal. Not really my goal, my certainty, my promise to you.